Good. All right, so, Chairman Oliver, you'll go ahead and start. We'll get the first bit out. So we'll go ahead and start with Chairman Oliver. You'll also get the first question. Sure. We'll do an introduction for you.
Good evening, Apsaugah tribal members, candidates, students, administration staff, and faculty. Thank you for joining us for this Apsaugah Nation Executive Candidates Forum. Tonight we'll be hearing from the candidates for the office of Chairman of the Crow Tribe. Chairman Alvin A.J. Notafrey Jr. and Senator Frank Whiteclay. We'll start with a brief 3-minute introduction. Prior to tonight's forum, we did a coin toss. Chairman Notafrey, if you would start for us, and then we'll go to Senator White.
Sure. Shoraji, thank you for hosting this as well as the invite. Chairman Notafrey, A.J. Notafrey, I am from the Greasy Mouth clan. Chairman Notafrey should I take it off? Or leave it? Did you hear it now? Chairman Notafrey, Greasy Mouth clan, real name, Alvin Notafrey Jr., currently serving as chairman, prior to Secretary of the Nation from 2013 to 16. Prior to that, I was the director of coal regulatory, which was engaging in permitting for coal and other natural resources. Also, I worked for Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Land Management, Crow Tribe back in the 90s. Was honorably discharged from the United States Marine Corps. Went to school for land survey and engineering in Kalispell, Flathead Valley Community College, and now serving the end of my term.
Good evening. I want to thank the college for putting this on, for inviting us. My name is Frank Whiteclay. I'm a senator representative of the Black Lodge District in my second term. I'm a member of the Big Lodge clan and the child of Big Lodge. I'm from the Black Lodge area. Currently, I served as the finance chair. I served in the legislative branch. I served as the Natural Resources Committee Chair, the Economic Development Committee Chair, Vice Chair of the Judicial Committee. Prior to that, my election in the legislative branch, I was IT for the Crow Tribe from 2012 to 2016. Prior to that, I worked in North Dakota at the Bakken for 2 years. I would serve at the Westmoreland Therapy Coal Mine for 11 years prior to that. I'm the son of Dennis Buffalo and Rebecca Buffalo, grandson of Philip Whiteclay and Peggy Plentyhoops. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we'll now move to the questions submitted by community members, faculty, staff, and students. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to respond to the question, then we'll alternate to the next person, and then that person will receive the next question. At the conclusion of this forum tonight, you'll also be given 5 minutes to make closing remarks, so you might want to prepare for that as well. All right, so we'll start with Chairman Notafrey. What are your thoughts regarding COVID-19? And how do you plan to mitigate the virus? In particular, what sort of resources would you make available for tribal members?
Yes, thank you for the question. First of all, the virus itself is new to the United States, so as they're going through the pandemic and finding alternative ways to combat, we try to stay up to date with that with CDC as well as HHS. The difficulty we're having is when they're just now finding out how these different issues are coming about within the virus, how does that help the Crow people when everything is real time? So therefore, we reached out, we hired an epidemiologist who was with the CDC out of Washington, And they created a strategic plan as well as a surge plan because the surge hasn't hit as of yet. So therefore, we allocated through the appropriation of the $25 million from the U.S. Treasury to implement that plan. So there's a breakdown of that plan, and eventually that would be put out to the people for the transparency purpose. Currently, those funds have not been expended. There have been some expenditures on it in the realm of law enforcement, test kits, mitigating, tracing, contact. We hired quite a few people to work with IHS with the IC command to identify that. So when we try to isolate the virus, we are getting somewhat of a handle, I would say over 50%, but it can still be improved there. But for the most part, IHS is the lead because the tribe is not a medical facility. We just utilize the funds to help and assist both Bighorn County Health and IHS. We also reached out to Yellowstone County, their health departments as well, Riverstone Health. Hence the reason for our mandates on stay-at-home orders and such, because if they don't adhere to that, then that's how the virus is being spread. So we're given all the tools necessary, and we also have cleaning supplies available for people. We would like the people to have the outreach in delivering those, but when it comes to the current issues with the current positives, they're kind of overloaded with accommodating that. But eventually we plan to put incident command, if you will, departments within the communities that would help expedite the turnaround and help. And I would like to just talk about the current process. The current process requires when the health identify, meaning IHS, identify the positives, then they turn that over to the tracers. Meanwhile, they're also informing the tribal officials, so the tribal officials can get the necessary resources out to them. And the miscommunication out there is a lot of people come to the tribe and ask for these items, but these items were purchased with federal funds, so we have a protocol in place. Meanwhile, the longevity of this virus doesn't look too good in the benefit of the tribe, so we need to all work together, unify on this, and ensure that everybody's getting the message.
Senator Warrington.
Thank you for the question. No, with this virus hitting the Crow tribe and the area as hard as it is, I think on strategy side, making a plan and an action and moving forward with those in the communities and outreaching to the different communities and getting them the resources that they need to mitigate this. And not only that, but helping them within quarantine and getting them the supplies they need, not only for themselves, but their households, because as you know, multi-families live in a household, and that's where a lot of the problems that we believe, and looking at the multi-household units, is where the virus is spreading so far, not having the resources available to their households and getting the supplies that they need, but also working with the contract tracers, as Chairman Humphrey stated, is getting all of these entities to work cooperatively and work in that area and helping the people in these different communities and getting it out there, because you know, with this we have various issues. I mean, even down to we have a high mortality rate right now. And helping the people that are mourning and trying to help them with their burial costs, because that's a big burden that's put on the families. And, you know, we've heard some instances where they haven't been helped out in that area. And like we said, in our state, we've had numerous deaths from this, and we went through the protocols following these with, you know, feeding the families and following pro culture, even through that. But, you know, mitigating this virus starts with, like I said, just getting the supplies they need, getting the masks that they need, making them available to people that, I mean, right now, people can't go out and buy masks like everybody else. There's a small fraction of people that are being overlooked on this, on getting the supplies they need. And you know, if we can do this and make them available, I think that would mitigate the curve Thank you.
Senator Whiteley, let's stay with the issue of health. A number of tribal members deal with health issues besides COVID-19, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, obesity. Given also the fact that Indian Health Services funding stays relatively flat while the cost of health is increasing, what would you do to address these health issues in the community?
Addressing the problem is recognizing that we have one. You know, coming through with prevention and getting education out there across the board for all the families and bringing in programs that provide not only to the parents and the children and giving them the education on health and prevention through that. Like you said, we have a high diabetes over here, and with that, we need to, it starts at home, but it also starts in the schools, working with the education system to get these issues corrected, prevented, and educated on these to mitigate that. And across the board, working with several entities and looking for grants that come in to, you know, educate the people, you know, put them on a proper way and healthy living. And that's one way we can do that, and going after federal funds, going after grants that we can utilize in the community to create a healthier community. Thank you.
Chairman Nonifree?
Yes, if you could repeat the question one more time.
Sure. A number of other issues, health issues outside of COVID-19, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, obesity. These are things that a number of tribal members may be dealing with. Given also the fact that Indian Health Services funding remains relatively flat while the cost of health is increasing, what sort of things would you do to provide the health services for people within the community?
Yes. Currently, what we've looked at, reviewed, we started from the top, meaning law. What has enabled IHS to provide that service to the Crow people? And what we're recognizing as budget cuts come across, then the services are less. The Crow tribe enacted a health board that was confirmed by the legislature, and their job is to keep IHS in line with the healthcare overall. They also work with them with all these different issues that are facing our people, diabetes, cancer, all these things. And the difficulty we're having is the lack of funds. And when we talk about going after grants, currently we can't because of the tribe's deficit. And if Mr. Buffalo could return those records, we could also reapply for grants, and that would put us in compliance with our audits. Until we receive those records, it's difficult to go after new grants without providing source documentation of the past. The IHS and HHS are willing to work with us in all areas, but they also see the cuts across the board in Indian country. So today, we are looking at what's going to happen with Obamacare. Where does that put the tribes in general, over 500 tribes? So we need to look at the big picture right now. Does the Crow tribe need to push the treaty? Does the Crow tribe need to purchase insurance for its own membership? What do we do? And it all boils to the lack of funds. So identify that first problem, we can take care of a lot of these other major issues in Crow country.
Chairman Nonifree, there's for a number of years, the Crow Reservation has been experiencing litter problems. How would you address the litter problem in general, but also how would you address dumpster sites within the community?
Yes, this is in several parts. As you know, the Crow tribe has not been the owner of the transfer site in the Lodgegrass community. The other communities, except for another, the prior district is owned by individual lottees. So as far as tribal land is concerned, we could work venues there. But meanwhile, we do have a plan. We have the plan in place. Now it's the process of funding. We asked the CPA from the COVID funds, asking if that would be possible to fund, and they said yes. So contracts will be underway in November for those specific sites that ain't under the tribe's ownership, if you will. And the plan there is to actually have the private sector take that over so they can charge Indian Health Service, BIA, the Crow tribe, the public schools, and that'll help keep it revolving without the tribe having to pay having 14,000 members pay for trash, because there isn't 14,000 members on the reservation. Therefore, let's get something going to where it is self-sustaining. So that's the plan in November.
Senator White.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. For a number of years, the Crow Reservation has been experiencing litter problems. How will you address these litter problems in general, and in particular dumpster site issues within the community?
Well, it's been years and years that this has been accumulating through the different administrations, and recognizing these problems and going through it, with the Republic and the county and these different entities that were all through there. We need to find and address these issues on jurisdiction, like I said, housing, what part they play in there, with the IHS, what part they play in there, and all these different entities that do play a part in their trust responsibility with the Crow tribe, and getting into that with the people and setting up these dumpster sites and try to utilize it, and utilizing our own resources, our own people, our number one resource, and putting these people to work and doing this ourselves to make sure that we not only develop our solid waste plan, but provide employment and income for our membership, and putting our membership first through that. I'm from Crow. I've lived here. I've been here, and where the dumpster site now is a wind tunnel. We need to find and address tribal lands, put that aside, and put that dumpster site in another location, because coming off the highway, you see it. Tourists, everybody coming through, they see that site, and if we can start from there and develop our solid waste plan to where it's beneficial not only for the tribe and its people, but that it's cost effective, and then having these other entities, IHS, BIA, all these other entities that are responsible for that, making them accountable and bringing them to what we need as a Crow people, and making them accountable for their portion of this, and not putting it all on the Crow tribe, because the Crow tribe is the biggest taxpayer in Bighorn County, but yet we pay that tax also. So we need to address these issues and work hand in hand with these different entities to make sure we can get this solid waste plan going, and making sure that it outlives any administration, that it keeps going beyond just 4 years and 4 years, because we're redeveloping the wheel each time. So having a solid waste plan that's progressive, manageable, and has longevity to it. Thank you.
Senator Whiteley, with a number of homes having multiple families living under one roof, what would you do to increase housing or make more housing available? Also, what would you do to upgrade houses?
Well, currently, with the housing ordinance how it is, it's out of the purview of the executive, and the legislative appoints the commission, and right now, because we have less politics in there, the housing program is sustaining itself. It's going after grants, it's getting these grants available through their Indian housing plan, and it's in its infancy. And this new ordinance that's going through, it's working. They're currently getting grants. They went after a $6.5 million grant, and they won that. They were awarded that in tax credits. Going through the tax credits, it's a percentage on the dollar, but still, we're moving forward with that. And that came out of the legislative, and it was signed by Chairman Not Afraid right now. And we went through there. It's going, as long as it's arm's length, and it stays arm's length, it'll continue to move forward and bring these projects, low-income housing, everything else. But another project that what our slate, White Clay Slate, is looking to is making a plan for the middle income, not the low income, but going to the middle income. And when we talk about people going off reservation, making a life for themselves, getting an education and coming back, there's no place for them because they don't qualify for these programs. And setting up a program for them to where they can achieve home ownership on the reservation, because we're from here, and we want to be here. This is where we would love to be. Our heart is here. And setting up these programs for the educated and them in that middle income to come back so they're not living in multi-family units, and also pushing for the low-income units to be remodeled, redone, and giving them opportunities to go after the grants and working with the housing hand in hand to get more housing in not just Crow, but every community along the reservations, along the 6 districts. You know, we need to put these programs in place so we're not living off reservation. Thank you.
Chairman Otterford.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to also clarify some things. Once we submitted the ordinance to the legislature for approval again, we decided to devise these various ordinances to set them arm's length. So Housing Authority is a prime example under the Not Afraid leadership when we casted that off. It needed some help along the way. Those, to be exact, $900,000 in back taxes. So we utilized the general fund to pay that, along with other liabilities that the HUD organization needed to clarify. So when we did that, and then an additional 2 years of good audits, then obviously you see in the black, which opens up where they're no longer high risk. And that's due to the hard work from Senator Goodluck and Senator Paul Hill. At the time when we formulated this, we felt that the more we could do that and devise these things from away from the executive, it would flourish. College, again, is a prime example. So that being said, we noticed that low income is direly needed. We established another program, which so far we've spent over $2 million for the middle class. It's through the Guaranteed Loan Program. And they have been successful there, which is administered by Lloyd Pickett. And Lloyd Pickett says we did expend over $2 million so far in people who are above that low minimum or low salary wages. So if that program is evident, I asked our offices to get the outreach out there because that is very productive for our people. So there are a lot of employees within the college who would easily qualify for that. And we ask that they do. So that point of contact is Lloyd Pickett. Also, I wanted to mention that Housing Authority gets IHP funds. Therefore, that's another venue to fix water, sewer, another venue for trash, venue for, matter of fact, they have COVID funding today to do remodeling and such. And so in the ordinance, they have to report to the legislature. And I advise that the legislature look into those things because it's not getting done.
Right, we'll move to finances. Chairman Otterford, what would you do if re-elected? What would be your plan to address the overall financial situation of the Crow tribe? Also, in particular, how would you address any sorts of debt that the Crow tribe has?
There's a fine line between debt and liabilities. Liabilities are always consistent, but we have some liabilities that have become debt. And the difficulty in that sharing with the people is they don't understand the tribe's financing, such as different multiple revenue sources. And when those directors obligate those funds for spending, what we have here is, like, for example, in the Indian Health Service, we paid White Clay Construction to finish the sidewalks. We paid them to do the walls in the IHS. And because since we fronted that fund to them, along with other funds, and they didn't get done, we had to pay another vendor to do that. So as we create this debt and we're not recouping on these things, the tribe overall is at a loss. And that tends to compound over administration after administration, and now your revenue is dropping and your liabilities and debt is inclining. So the plan is develop resources, develop your people so they can possess those jobs that we create, and you'll see a major turnaround. Because when we first entered into the office, we had financial advisors, even some elderly folks say, Chairman Otterford, this is a 10-year plan altogether. So we're at year four, and we're looking at it is a 6-year plan. Because working with the administration, the senators, the president, they all recognize that we are a mere fraction of the national level debt. So therefore, they forgive debt to states and other municipalities, why couldn't they do that for the Crow tribe? So at that, when we evaluated that, we recognized we need the records back from Mr. Buffalo, so that way we can eradicate that 35 million.
Can you say that louder?
Absolutely. To repeat the question.
Senator Whiteclay.
Oh, Senator Whiteley.
All right, thank you. With the finances the way it is, going in through with 4 years of no audits is the first issue that we have to conduct is the audits. And moving forward in these audits, we have to look for and do a financial capture and a debt to liabilities, incoming revenue, and there's a lot of gears to this machine that we have to get every gear moving through it, and where it benefits the Crow people. And we're not just moving for the Crow people, that we're moving for the Crow tribe as government. And with that, with the financial liabilities, if we take the liabilities away from Vegas con men and not pay them these high wages and put those wages into our Crow people and put those wages and these contracts well above there in all of these programs, then the Crow tribe will be able to make a better financial standing. But, recognizing that there is a problem and moving forward with a strategic financial plan and moving forward with all of these different components to it and going after like I said, the grants, the forgiveness, paying back our income taxes, our employment taxes, all these different components that are owed employees. If you do a service and you work for the tribe, you should be able to get a paycheck from it. And, going back to paying back our own people, letting our own people work in our government and putting the Crow people first in these, we have educated Crow people, we have a lot of educated Crow people, and putting them in these positions so that way the revenues overturning their families so they can help out other families along the way. Because, when you work, you're not just working for yourself, because you help out everybody else across the board. So going through, we need to make a steady, stable financial plan, reform the Constitution where you have a true separation of powers to where there's checks and balances to these financial plans, and moving forward, getting these and doing a sustainable government across not just one term, but across multiple terms, and adapting to what comes up through on the national level, state level, and local level. Thank you.
I want to come back to finances here in just a second, but you mentioned the Crow Tribal Constitution. What are your thoughts on the Crow Tribal Constitution? And would you do something to create a balance of power between the three branches of the Crow government?
Thank you for that question. Yes, the Crow Constitution needs reform. I think we're all in agreement that it does need a true separation of powers where each branch can do a check and balances, because it's modeled off the national level. We need a true check and balance in there, where the biggest issue I find is always funding. Funding is always a fight, no matter what in which branch you are. So separating that and making a separate financial entity within the tribe to where the executive and legislative and judicial agree on the budget, and then that is like a Department of Treasury to where we set that out and we implement it, and our budget is agreed upon, signed, and they disperse the funds to each branch, and strengthening up our court system to where there is a jurisdictional reach right there within all of the entities there, where there's a true check and balance, where there's a true separation of powers, is where the Constitution fails right now. And through constitutional reform, that's a big thing that everybody's talking about, but it's never put out there. It's never saying this is how exactly we're going to do it. And first argument is money. So putting that money is out there away from the purview of just one branch and separating them is where you start that reform. But on all aspects of that, where there's a lot of different work and a lot of cleanup to do in that Constitution, and setting it aside where the General Council has a bigger say in it, because they're lined out in the Constitution right now. And, you know, getting with General Council, having General Council meeting, following the Constitution to the law, and following these laws that are already in place. You know, we want to say we want to reform it, but first we got to follow it. And doing that is having a true separation of powers, because you have one description that we're to minister. You know, there's a lot of different, Black's Law has a different definition of it, Webster has a different definition of it, but at the end of the day, if we do a true separation of three branches, then, and strengthening up each branch, we can work together through the three branches for the betterment of the Crow people. Thank you.
Chairman Montford?
Yes, thank you. I believe the Constitution does need some revamping. There are some priorities. A lot of times it does boil down to finance. So at the time, again with Senator Hill, Senator Goodluck, and Senator Reelberg, we were looking at possibly amending the Constitution to create a Treasury Department or a Revenue Department. And then they would have that transparency. Because anytime you have one CPA over everything and we're asking for reports, it's difficult to do that on the dollar, on the time, because it takes hours and hours of research and reconciliation to give out even just a week worth of expenditures. I mean, the Crow Tribe is big business in the realm of grants. This year we'll have like about a $9 million budget, so we should be able to easily report that. But what I do recognize is that where they believe there's infractions, if you look at 0409, you look at the FMA, you look at all the various laws that were created, not talking about the Constitution,